Hello, this is Frank Neely from HeartlandDiaryUSA.com, bringing you news every conservative can use. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date. This is part 2 of the interview on Fox and Friends of Senator Rand Paul this morning, Friday, the following day after the Republican National Convention. Paul was attacked on the streets along with his wife by a band of thugs and marauders, as he calls them. And he is making a very important point in this part of the interview where he describes what he believes was a plot by forces unknown to incite a riot. And he's asking the FBI to get involved, to do interviews, to find out who's behind it, to make arrests and help stop this thing. So listen to this. This is very important. Let's hope the FBI does get involved.
You and your wife are both okay, right?
We are. We were unharmed, but, you know, it's still going on this morning. There's still mobs in the street, blocking the streets. And I know it sounds like over the top to say that people are from out of town, but I think we're going to find out that these people are hired and from out of town. Specifically in our case, I believe there are going to be people who were involved with the attack on us that actually were paid to come here, are not from Washington, D.C., and are sort of paid to be anarchists.
Yeah.
And this is disturbing because really if you're inciting a riot, that's a crime. But if you're paying someone to incite a riot, that person needs to go to jail as well. But we can't live this way. It's getting worse and worse. You know, I like being free to be able to walk out and go for a walk in the park. We cannot go outside now. It's become so dangerous for us. And I don't hear Joe Biden or Kamala Harris saying one thing about the violence. This mob is their voters. This is the new Democrat Party. And if we don't resist this, the United States is going to become Portland. We're going to become Chicago. All of these failed cities Democrats have run, the president said it in his speech, if we allow them to take over the White House, we are going to become Portland. The country will be on fire. We have to have law and order, and we have to support the police. You know, I can't say that strong enough.
Senator, some of the papers today are reporting that what was being yelled at you was, as you said, say her name, Breonna Taylor. You know, you said there were obscenities. I would not like you to repeat those, but you said there were threats. Tell us what the threats were.
Well, the threats were to F you up, to kill you. The threats were if they could get hold of you, and I truly believe this with every fiber of my being, had they gotten at us, they would have gotten us to the ground. We might not have been killed. We might just have been injured by being kicked in the head or kicked in the stomach until we were senseless. You've seen the pictures. Most of the networks will not show the pictures of this. This is happening in all of our cities. It's got to stop. And thank God for the police. Had we not gotten to the police, I truly believe that the police saved our life, and we would not be here today, or we'd be in a hospital today had the police not been there. And I'd like to thank them if they're watching this. We thanked them last night, but it was still a melee. They were still trying to get people, away from us. Even in the hotel, people were following us into the hotel.
Well, let me ask you this as an exit question. Given the fact that you said that these people are still on the streets, protesters are still on the streets, and we heard from Griff Jenkins about a half an hour ago that apparently a number of the businesses in Washington, D.C. are boarded up because they're worried about trouble going forward. Does a prominent Republican like yourself, somebody who is very recognizable, need to have security to simply walk on the streets of Washington, D.C. or major cities in America?
Probably yes, from now on. I don't feel it at home. At home, people are so friendly. I can go to the grocery store, and I want to live, the life of a normal person where I go to the grocery store and buy groceries or stop at the Minute Mart. And at home, I do feel that. But this also isn't normal. There's something going on here. This is like the FBI needs to be involved.
What do you mean something's going on? Senator, what do you mean something's going on? You've got a feeling. Tell us what you think.
My feeling is that there is interstate criminal traffic being paid for across state lines, but you won't know it unless you arrest them. Otherwise, you just think, oh, these are some normal hoodlums from a big city. I promise you that at least some of the members and the people who attacked us were not from D.C. They flew here in a plane. They've all got fresh new clothes, and they were paid to be here. It is a crime to do that, and it needs to be traced. The FBI needs to investigate, but the only way you can do it is you have to arrest people. And usually we say, oh, well, you didn't get hurt, so we're not going to arrest them. They were inciting a riot, and they would have killed us had the police not been there. They all need to be arrested, and I'm not saying forever, but they need to be arrested, questioned, questioned. They need to say, where are you staying? And the bills need to be subpoenaed by a judge to say, who paid for your bill? How did you get here on a plane and staying in a fancy hotel, and yet you're acting like a criminal? Something's going on here, and it's much bigger than people think. But the bottom line is, we can't let the United States become Portland, and that's what my fear is, that the United States is going to be on fire if we have no police. And look, I've been for reform. I've authored 22 criminal justice reforms. They were yelling at me, we're not going to let you go alive unless you'll say out loud you're for criminal justice reform. And I'm like, you idiot. You are so dense that you have no idea that I've been a leading advocate for criminal justice reform with President Obama, with President Trump, and you're going to try to kill me, and I've been trying to help the problems. And so this is what's sad, but it's such lawlessness. If we have this kind of lawlessness, I would say people are going to get killed. People have been killed. You know, the former police chief, his story was so sorrowful to listen to his wife last night that was killed in St. Louis. Yeah. You know, the little girl, Sequoia Turner, 8 years old, was shot in the middle of the day in Atlanta because they took a wrong turn. But the police, they had let the mob take over a street corner armed. We can't let our cities be taken over by these marauders and thugs.
Well, we are glad you are safe, you and your wife, Kelly, and we thank you very much for coming on to tell us your story. Let's see what